My question is simple: how do you become the best team in the world?
There were like phases of the game when we played with so much joy, man. We played with like so much speed and so aggressive, and it felt like vacation, low-key.
During the summer, I'm sure now the whole European basketball saw your ritual.
I think that one bump I gave JT, that one was too much, man. Low-key, I should have chilled on that one.
You then made the move to Paris?
To adapt to the Paris style of basketball was the toughest transition I had in my career. That right there was the most unique system I ever played in.
We got to talk about this new challenge that you chose, Žalgiris Kaunas. Probably, one of the most engaged fan base in Europe. What are your expectations for this year?
And we have a good team, and if the right pieces click and then us new players, we find a way to contribute well, I think, anything can happen, man.
Guys, today on the show, World Cup winner, EuroBasket winner, German national team legend, Zalgiris Kaunas player, Maodo Lo, guys. Maodo Lo, exclusive on the podcast for you. His first full podcast after he won the EuroBasket. So this one is definitely one you gotta tune in. Trust me, I promise to you, it's a conversation you don't want to miss. So make sure you tune in, you like and subscribe. Guys, you still 90% watch our podcast and don't subscribe. Please, please, please. It would help us so much to just hit the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds of your time and we'll bring the show to the next level. And we promise, Alex and myself, which is outside of the camera here, texting somebody. You cannot see him. Alex, jump in. We promise to you guys that if you hit that subscribe button, we will make the show bigger and better every single day. Correct or no?
Yes, sir.
W's, you're insiders. Maodo, super happy to have you on the podcast, bro.
Hey, man, happy to be here.
Thank you so much, bro. First things first, I want to tell you a big congratulations. How do you feel?
Thank you, man. Thank you. No, I feel good, man. I feel good to reward yourself with a victory after such a long summer. It's always a decision you make as a player before national team. You decide, especially getting older and having a lot of national team summers in your body, in your bones. It's like you make a decision, and then to at the end to be rewarded and to win a gold medal, that's the best way, man. So it was a special summer, a special group of guys,
definitely
a special time period for German basketball, I would say.
Yeah.
So I feel great, man. I feel great to have had the success.
But man, we saw that with Germany, it wasn't just a one summer thing. It was like for the last 4 or 5 years, you guys built something. You won the World Cup, you won the EuroBasket, did some good stuff in the Olympics. My question is simple: how do you become the best team in the world?
Hey, man. So I think for a national team, continuity is the number one thing. To have like a core group of guys to commit every summer. And to get to know each other, learn how to play with each other, and if those group of guys are also talented and good basketball players, then that's a really good fundament and recipe for success on the national team level. People always talk about like the last 4 years of German basketball, but I think it started earlier, man.
Beyond, right? Yeah.
I think it started like in 2015, 2017. We had Chris Fleming as a coach back then.
Mm-hmm.
He brought like a lot of professionalism and like a good mindset, a good approach to German basketball. Like he was like, hey, you guys are a young, talented group of guys. Like don't be scared, like to dream big. Don't be scared to have like a winner mentality. Like don't take a second seat to France, Spain, Serbia. Like have courage. And he kind of installed that in us back then already. That's always my answer. And we kept showing up. 2017 played the EuroBasket. We beat France, I think, in the first game. Lost to Spain with Marc Gasol, Pau Gasol. He had an incredible game. But already then it's not like we were some like bum team. Or
you were showing like improvement.
We
constantly
were improving. Okay, then we had a World Cup in 2019. We didn't play well. Then 2020 we qualified for Olympics.
Yeah.
2020 EuroBasket won bronze, and then World Cup. There's a steady improvement. It's not like it came out of nowhere. Like it was continuous, like commitment and efforts.
Do you feel that from this group or this core of players that you guys have since multiple years, that there's like an addition possible? Because we know that Germany has a lot of talents as well, like Hartenstein, all of these players. Or do you feel that it's just this core from A to Z?
No, I don't feel that way. I think I mean, we incorporated players this year with Tristan da Silva.
Yeah.
You know, Leon Kratzer joined this year, who hasn't been part of the national team in the previous years in the final roster. You know, Mo was hurt, Mo Wagner. David Kremer got hurt. We didn't play with Vogtmann. You know, like, so there's some... it's not the same roster every summer, obviously. You know, there's always changes. And we have a lot of good players still, you know, who didn't play. You know,
it can be even better than that. That's scary.
Yeah, like, but you know, it's not always only about, you know, roster and best players and talent. You see it in the EuroLeague too. You know, sometimes you look at teams and you say, oh wow, look at this talented team, but you know, maybe then they underperform, or you see teams where you might not suspect them to do well because on paper you think, okay, they don't have the biggest contracts or whatever, but then, you know, the chemistry is right, the pieces are right. It's not only about chemistry, it's also about having the right players, you know, the right fits, the right roles.
Definitely, man.
You know, basketball is more complex than just, you know, like a roster sheet, you know what I mean?
Facts.
I mean, you know, from the outside, I was looking at the games, and it was such a joy to watch it, you know. Okay, I support France, but there's a difference between the games, especially this summer. Was the joy like you feel it on the court as well?
For sure, man.
Look like a fun team to be around, man.
For sure. We're a good group of guys, man. You know, like, we understand each other well. Like, there's a good chemistry. We spend a lot of time off the court, you know, like, especially this summer. You know, we started off our training camp in Malaga, and like, it felt like vacation, low-key, you know, like we were practicing in the morning.
That's so nice.
Alex Mumru, he was the one who initiated this, actually. He's an ex-player, you know, he understands what players kind of need in the summers, especially when you commit to national team. And the chemistry was right, you know. We just a good unit, you know what I mean? And I think also the philosophy that Alex Mumru brought to the national team this summer, with the fast-paced style of play and, you know, the more modern type of basketball, suited our team very well.
Yeah, you got athletes.
We have athletes. We like to play in transition. We have speed, and I think it was the right type of philosophy for our team as well.
I agree with you. However, I think that regardless of who would be on the bench with this team, I think you would have been successful, honestly. Because Mumbu is very different than what you had before. So, you know, it's like, I think you would have won anyways.
I mean, I think the strong unit of players, I think we compensate for a lot. But I think this summer we found the right system too. Like a really... And Mumbu, you know, he had his health issues and serious health issues during the tournament. But I think if he would have stayed healthy, I think we would have played this philosophy with more conviction. You know, I think we would have showed even more exciting type of basketball, because in the first group stage there were times when we executed his philosophy very well, and there were like phases of the game when we played with so much joy, man. We played with like so much speed and so aggressive.
You guys are laughing on the court a lot.
We were laughing
too.
On the court, like it was fun. You know what I mean? Like we were, it was just like a good moment, man. Like, just yeah.
But you know, you spoke about Coach Mumru and the health issues he was dealing with. So, you know, with all this going on, it feels like especially this gold medal means a lot more to you and the team and the coach. And we also was checking with Ben this crazy interview that, you know, when you took over and spoke and make a public statement, like how personal was it for you to stick with the coach and what it meant to the country? Because it was huge in Germany, I saw.
Yeah, man, like we just wanted to show solidarity towards him, you know. First of all, for him he put his health on the line, man. Like every doctor, everyone is saying he should have stopped and gone to a hospital right away.
He went to hospital after the tournament too.
Yeah, right away. I think he's in the hospital as we speak. As far as
seriously?
I think so.
Oh,
so
shit,
he really that showed his commitment and his passion, you know, to still be there, and like despite his pain and everything to be there with us. And I just thought it was right for us as players to have his back, man, and to just let the media know, you know, what he's doing right now and the sacrifice he's making, and that he's still part of our team, you know.
But how does it work, you know, when in the middle of a competition the head coach gives the duty to the assistant coach? Like for the players, is it something different? Is it a different dynamic? Because I'm sure it's like you get shaken up a little bit, you know, as players for that.
I think a normal team is something that would have shaken them up. But again, our continuity and experience, and also the assistant coach, Alan, we have a lot of experience with him, you know. So the continuity doesn't only go back to the players, but also to the coaching staff. You know, he's been with us for years, and been part of big tournaments with us. And
you know him, right?
Yeah,
So
he was my coach in under 18 national team.
yeah, okay, yeah,
He's a
yeah,
good guy.
He's a good guy,
Good guy, man.
He's a good guy, and we players were very familiar with him, and he was familiar with us. Like, he knew us well too, which is important for every coach, to know his players, to know the strengths of his players, and he brought that with us, with him. Sorry, so I think that helped us too, you know, for him to be familiar with us.
I would like to know, you know, obviously we saw this like statement that you guys made, and you as a very like vocal person this very moment. Why you? You know, because, you know, we have Schröder, which is the superstar of the team, but why you in this very moment felt that you need to spread the voice out?
I mean, I've been a part of the team for a long time as well. You know, I started with Schröder 2014. I played EuroBasket 2015, 2017, World Cup 2019, Olympics 2020, and then, you know, everything else with the team. So personally, for me, honestly, Mumbu had talks with me personally before the national team summer, and after last season, you know, I was mentally pretty tired. Physically, I didn't feel too well, man. I've been playing basketball since 2020 nonstop. You know? Like Olympics, EuroBasket, World Cup.
This is insane,
man.
Like, and you know, the EuroLeague seasons are like demanding. You know what
definitely.
I mean? Like, you get maybe 4 weeks off.
Yeah.
But if you play national team, you get 1 week off. 2 weeks.
It's insane.
Now it's crazy. Like, from winning gold medals straight to
it's like full NBA season almost.
Yeah. This season was actually pretty good because before EuroBasket we had like 3 weeks. That's the most I ever had. But before, like for example, last year Olympics, I had a week between EuroLeague and then Olympic preparation. So I was tired, man, and I was you know, questioning whether to play this EuroBasket.
Seriously?
I was seriously questioning, man, because last year, the Olympics, things didn't really, personally for me, like there were some things that went a little wrong, and like I said, I was tired physically, mentally, and you know, he came and approached me right away when he signed for the job, and you know, he told me to have patience and to reconsider, and he kind of like changed my mind and motivated me to, you know, to give it another summer.
So he convinced you basically.
Yeah, he did his part, man, for sure. You know, so I felt like personally, I felt like
that's crazy.
I kind of owe that to him. You know what I mean? To speak out one more time, and that was also the mindset of the team. Like it wasn't like my decision to talk then, but like, you know, the team was behind the decision as well. Yeah.
Crazy, man.
Man, also like during the summer, I'm sure now the whole European basketball saw your ritual. Which for the pregame ritual, which for me, you know, if I see you running at me, I don't care, you know, I'm strong, I'm moving away. So first of all, this is crazy. But then I saw another player's ritual, which is the player from Finland.
You
saw?
I saw that. Yeah.
Bro, he's
slapping
circle,
people.
he's slapping everyone.
That's crazy.
Which one is the craziest ritual? This one or yours?
I mean, I don't know, man. I think that one bump I gave JT. That one was too much, man. Low key, I should have chilled on that one, but.
Like, you can get them hurt.
Yeah, but we've had some practice in it too, man.
Okay.
I've been doing this like since back in my Berlin days, and it carried over to Paris, and then always in the national team. So just, you know, just something to get us fired up.
But it's funny because now we talk to you, you know, you seem like this very chill guy, laid back, and then like something happens, you flip the switch, and you're this beast, like ready to get unleashed. How are you able to flip like this, like go in the attack mode?
Yeah, it's also something you practice, honestly, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. I
How?
think so. It's something you learn throughout your career. I mean, I was always a player who plays best when he's aggressive. When I was young, I had moments and tendencies where I played too passively, and you know, I've always had coaches and teammates and players telling me, hey man, be aggressive. That's kind of like the common thread throughout my career. So I kept, you know, working on that type of mentality, on that mindset. You know, this ritual is something to
get you going,
get you going. It's something, it's like something also
like
for myself,
that.
for my individual performance, to, you know, just to get the tension going, the type of aggressive mentality going. And yeah, man, it's something you kind of acquire throughout your career. You learn and you you get better at it, I would say.
But you know, we had a podcast not too long ago with Nadir Hifi, and I asked him like, okay, we see that when you guys are winning, and you guys won a lot last year, everything is going well, you got the ritual. But then I asked him like, well, what about when you guys are losing? Are you start losing this? And he says, nah, man, it was even crazier. Is it true?
I mean, we didn't lose too much last year, you know what I mean?
True, a lot of losing.
So,
Nice.
but yeah, I mean, that's the right mindset right there, you know? Like, if things don't go well, you know, that's when it's tough, you know? That's when you have to get going. So, I agree with him, man.
Is there one thing that you do, especially when things go very tough?
When things go tough, yeah, man, you have to just go harder. You have to try harder. You have to try to find extra sparks of energy, and you have to you have to just dig deeper.
Yeah.
That's probably my answer.
You mentioned your childhood. For all our viewers that don't know about your background, what do we need to know about your childhood to understand the person we have in front of us today?
I think, I grew up in an artist household. I think that's the number one thing I would mention. And I grew up like in a very urban environment. I grew up in the like city center of Berlin, like right in the center, like busy streets. And yeah, my mother, she's an artist, so.
Amazing work, by the way. I saw it's unbelievable.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
thank
beautiful.
you. Yeah, she'd be happy to hear. So, you know, growing up in an artist household is you get like a lot of different impulses, you know, like which might not be related to sports or might be related to anything normal, you know, like a lot of long nights in restaurants with some like crazy creative people, a lot of loud music,
It's so different.
Different, yeah. And just an unconventional type of childhood, I would say. A lot of traveling. So I think that has definitely shaped me and my perspective and outlook on life. And, you know, just being an urban kid too, you know, like I think throughout my career also, I've been blessed, but it's also partially due to a lot of my decisions that I made. Like to make sure I always try to land in like places with, you know, urban environments, you know what I mean?
Oh, you look for that when you sign somewhere?
It's definitely something which influenced decisions that I've made in my career, honestly. And, you know, I really cannot complain, man. I played in great cities, you know, like in Paris, Milan, Munich, Berlin, you know what I mean? So, and now being in Kaunas is also a different experience, but also it's life, you know what I mean? Like you gather experiences, that's what life is about, man. You gather as much as you can.
Nice, man.
You know, on the podcast, we like to welcome guests that have a story to tell, you know, like a different story. And yours is definitely like something the world of basketball is not used to. And how do you go from Germany to Columbia? That for those who don't know, Columbia is a school in New York, part of the Ivy League, which is part of the best college universities in the world in terms of academics. It's as good as Harvard, Yale. How does that happen, man?
Man, you know, I grew up in Berlin playing basketball, and you know, I always had a lot of talent, man, and like, but I played basketball a little bit differently than like all my peers when I was younger. I used to play more like street ball, and like I just had fun in playing basketball. Let's say, like enjoying the aesthetic moments of basketball rather than maybe the strict structural way, you know?
Like you were more artistic, let's say.
Possibly this, yeah. And back when I was young, I was always like kind of overlooked because of this, and maybe not appreciated because it was always in Germany. It was always like, man, you got to play basketball this way. You have to protect the ball with your left hand when you dribble with your right hand, and you have to, you know, like it was just a different type of vibe, you know. And I, you know, dribbled through the legs 50 times, behind the back, spin move, blah, blah. You know, all the coaches, the youth coaches, they
still do it.
They were yelling at me for this.
Germany, it's very linear.
Yeah, it was very linear. And I wasn't playing that way. So, you know, when I was 18 and I did my diploma in Berlin, I had no perspective to play in Germany.
Okay.
Like none whatsoever. Like not even second league, third league, like...
Seriously?
Seriously. I mean, you speak German. Erste Regionalliga.
Seriously?
Like, it's probably like
it's like fifth division.
Fifth or fourth league. Like that's probably the the highest that someone would have allowed me
crazy.
to play. So at that point, at 18, I was like, okay, I love basketball. This is my thing. I gotta leave this country. Like, I gotta play somewhere else. So like I cut up like a mixtape by myself. Like put it on YouTube. It's still on YouTube actually.
Oh, we're gonna put it out.
We're gonna put it in for sure.
And sent us to a prep school. And
Massachusetts, right?
Massachusetts,
Yep.
yeah, man. And they accepted me. They gave me like a scholarship, and I went there, played basketball there, did my academics. And while I was there, I got recruited by different colleges. But again, you know, Columbia recruited me. I took the train from Massachusetts, Springfield to Penn Station, New York. And I got out of Penn Station the first time in New York, and like immediately like this, I was hooked. Like, you know, like the noise.
Because you're used to it.
Exactly. The noise, the tempo of the city, you know, the honking, the people, the nationalities, the multiculturality, everything. Immediately, like, I swear, the sun was shining on that day. I swear I will never forget. In that moment, I said, all right, I'm going to New York. Like, I'm committing to the city. So that's when I committed to Columbia.
And also, you know, speaking like you're a creative point guard, you know, shifty. New York is the place to be if you're a shifty point guard.
Yeah, true. That's true.
It doesn't get better than that, you know.
That's true.
And I know you worked out with the boys from Pro Hoops, and they definitely, you know, exploited that even more.
Yeah, man.
But how do you put yourself on the national stage when, you know, at this time, Ivy League was not so known as being a basketball school, and yet you ended up, you know, averaging 20 points a game and even being on the like draft boards? How does that happen?
Yeah, so I just kept like this talent, and let's say this type of play that the style that I was playing, I was able to develop it, you know, like I developed that more so, and kept evolving, kept getting better, you know. Then confidence came, and then, you know, like by sophomore year, like I was really confident, and then you know, like German teams started to see what's going on in the States. And after my sophomore year, I had, you know, like the contract offers from back then Bamberg EuroLeague team, you know, Munich and Berlin, like the top 3 teams in Berlin and Germany. Sorry, they all of a sudden were there, you know. And before, nobody really.
This is crazy.
Nobody really minded me.
Man.
And then also I was national team. So then 2014 I was part of the national team. In 2015 I was a junior in college. And played the EuroBasket together with Nowitzki and Schröder.
I remember that.
This is insane.
I remember that.
So like, and no one really knew me, even
you
in
were
Germany.
the only college player, right?
Only college player.
I remember it was a big thing because you were like kind of from college, nobody knew you. It was a big thing in Germany.
It was a big thing because nobody knew.
Yeah,
like,
I remember that.
Who is this kid? Like he doesn't play any professional basketball. And like I said, when I was younger, I didn't really get any appreciation. You know? Like, I was never part of the youth team in Berlin or national teams in the U16, U18, none of that. So I went straight to the EuroBasket, kind of, you know.
I would like to ask, because obviously, like, from the way you're saying it, I'm not saying it sounds easy, but you said, okay, you took this decision, it was the right decision for you. But, you know, we have a lot of kids, a lot of young ballers watching this also in our show. And what would you tell to a kid, you know, that he is every day to play this way, to play this linear game, and doesn't, you know, can't express his creativity? What advice would you give that has been in the same shoes as this kid?
Man, just have like self-belief, and if you still have like joy and passion for basketball, and it's fun for you, and like you receive some sort of like deep love for it, like just keep going no matter what others are telling you, you know. Just keep playing your game, keep doing that what gives you like satisfaction and joy, and have self-belief in that, and see where it gets you, you know. Like, don't switch up you have to switch up your game and add things and get better when you're young. But if you feel like you have talent and you feel like you have found your type of style, stick to it and keep getting better at that.
But how do you feel it? I mean, it's you know, it's so hard for kids, you know, that like, you know, they just get something told when they're 16, 15 by a coach, and so they stick to it. But how did you felt this magic?
When I was young, I had these shifty moves, kind of, which I think other players just didn't. I didn't really see it much anywhere else. So you know what I mean, like. Yeah. And I also got approval from my peers, who were all like, "Yo, it's kind of crazy. The type of moves you do, and the type of, you know, change of directions and crossovers." So I kind of sensed, it's somewhat unique. So I think that gave me self-belief because I just didn't see it, like every player having that type of, let's say, maybe skill,
It's crazy, man, because when you have like this kind of situation and nobody gives you real confidence, you got to source your self-confidence from the small things you have and try to expand this confidence after to play your game, man. It's crazy.
My friends, and like the players I played with, like small club in Berlin, not even Alba Berlin, like a small club. That was like my, support system, and like you said, source of like confidence. They were like, "Wow, this is crazy," but everyone was like, "Why don't they see it?" But eventually, things turn out the right way, man. And
insane, man.
Yeah, man.
Right.
But your mom, she's an artist, painter, and she's so far away from the world of sports and basketball, right? How did she react when you told her, like, Mom, I'm going to go to the US to play ball there?
Man, that's a good question. Someone actually asked me this also a few weeks ago. Because actually, like, for a kid who doesn't have really, like, a lot of success in his own country, for the parents to be like, you want to go over to the States and play basketball over there?
Sure, you're going to make it?
Yeah, sure, why not? Great idea.
Yeah.
It's actually surprising that my parents were really... They kind of, I think, understood that I have a passion and I want to follow it, and they just let me let me go. Like there was no, I don't remember any big discussion or any big scene or nothing. Like, my mother, I think she saw parallels to her own life. Like having a passion and following your passion, like unconditionally.
It's funny because even me, when I was a very small kid, when my teacher was asking me, "What do you want to do when you're older?" I said I had no idea. I said I want to play college basketball in the US. For some reason, we played together in an academy here in France. I was out actually in prep school in Connecticut.
Oh, tough.
I went to St. Thomas More. I don't know if you heard.
I know, I remember.
Yeah,
St. Thomas More, I remember.
Yeah, good team, man.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah, then we went to New Hampshire. But yeah, like that's when I say I feel you, because when you have those support group that understands you and they follow you, I think you can go like reach for the moon, because everyone gives you power. So it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Maodo, you then, after your time in the US, made this move to Bamberg, which is not an urban environment.
This is not New York
at all.
Man, I was really. It was between, at that time, it was between Munich and Bamberg, for me. And I was really scared of Bamberg because of the city. I wasn't sure if really like this was a big factor for me. I was about to say Munich, but then EuroLeague was the decision. What made me decide for Bamberg, obviously, but I was actually, it was a factor for me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you feel it was like a more difficult adjust for you as a German to go back to Bamberg, Germany, than to play in New York?
Never been asked this question before. Let's say I was more cautious and scared of the decision.
Okay.
But at the end, it wasn't more difficult to.
Wasn't a big deal
to adapt. No, I was back home in Germany. After being in the States for 5 years, I met my my partner now. So that's great, and we have a kid. So
beautiful.
Bamberg was a great time, and it was Bamberg is a nice little town. Beautiful and very familiar back then. Great basketball culture and teams. Man, we had a good team. We had a great team that year, man. And Trinchieri as the coach, and man, I came into that year having to learn a lot, man. From college basketball straight to EuroLeague. With the format of having like the 32 games, and playing alongside Nico Sizes, Stelnix, Cousin, Darius Miller.
Yes.
You guys remember him?
Yes.
What? He was so tough. Daniel Theis, Nicolo Melli. We had a good team. We had a great squad.
Yeah.
And then a lot of a great shooter, Lukas Steiger. Man, we had.
It was like everybody's beginning. I feel like at this time,
Yeah, and that season we lost I think 9 games by 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
So I think we could have had a great season that year, but EuroLeague was especially back then super competitive. So yeah, man, Bamberg was a good time.
Coming back, right before Bamberg, in Colombia, at some point, as I said, people were putting you on the draft board,
Yeah.
But I'm sure at some point, the way you were playing and stuff, you were starting to hope something out of the draft, right? How did you feel that night when you ended up not being called. Was it something personal, or you just didn't think about it? How did you feel, man?
I mean, it's obviously would have been nice and disappointed, but at the same time, I wasn't like a lottery pick, and then I wasn't picked or something. You know what I mean? Like, my expectation was it'd be nice. Like, there's a chance, but I wasn't expecting now that it's 100% having to happen. You know. But yeah, I did play summer league.
The Sixers, right?
With the Sixers, and that was the year Ben Simmons got drafted. So we had a good summer league team, actually. It wasn't really a summer league team. It was more of we had Ben Simmons, TJ McConnell, Rashawn Holmes, Timothy Luau, who was a first-round pick.
He's our guy, yeah.
It's our boy.
He's our guy, yeah.
Alex Caruso was on the team.
Oh my God.
We had a good team, man. I fought myself into the rotation, and the only thing is I played the two because Ben Simmons was playing, you know, he was handling the basketball.
Yeah.
But I played well, and the Sixers liked me. And, you know, back then, you didn't have the two-way contracts. There was the partially guaranteed deals.
Yeah.
And that's what they offered me.
So they offered you something.
They offered me a partially guaranteed deal, which if you stay in the roster after training camp, you get it transforms to a guaranteed deal.
Yes.
But if not, then you go to back then it was the D League, not the G League. So it was between that or Bamberg, which was EuroLeague, and it was a good contract for
good money, right?
First year German player, and I decided Bamberg, you know. So that's basically my.
So, you know, you came back to Germany, but first time as a pro, right? Which was completely different than the situation you left the country before. When you came in Europe, you know, playing right away EuroLeague, did you set yourself some goals for your career?
Yeah, man, just to keep improving, to keep adding stuff to your game, and to win titles, man. That was my goal.
Which you did the very first year, like you win the league.
Yeah, man, we had an incredible season. Like I said, this team I just mentioned, the Bamberg team, and we won the cup and the National League title, and like dominated in a dominating fashion, like not close or whatever. It was a good year.
We had Thijs on the podcast, and he said that you guys lost a lot of games, but like a very, very small margin, right?
Yeah. That's
Oh my God!
Like I think 9 to 10 games.
This
like
is insane.
Buzzer beater. It was a really competitive season. Yeah, but we played some good basketball there, and for me it was a learning year too. You know, like I was a young player under Trinchieri.
How is it that you learn with Trinchieri? Because we know he's not the easiest guy ever.
Yeah, it was not easy. Yeah, it wasn't easy. But I learned a lot. Yeah, honestly, I learned a lot. You know, learned to read the game and learn, you know, all the intricacies and notions of basketball. And you know, as I always think, you know, Trinchieri, he's super tough. But if you kind of survive the toughness, and if you find a way to push through, you come out and. You will have gained a lot of basketball knowledge, you know.
Nice.
For sure.
What's the one Trinchieri story that you can share with us?
Man.
There's a lot. There's too many.
There's too many.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's everyone knows, you know, like everyone knows what Trinchieri brings to the table. You know, his personality is people are aware of it, and you know what he brings to the table and how passionate he is, and you know the perfectionism he expects. So yeah, there's a lot of stories, but it's difficult to pinpoint one, I would say.
But does it match to be a coach that is so perfectionist with such a young core of players, you know, that are learning like as the day goes by?
So the Bamberg team back then, it wasn't a young core of players, like, you know, like Caesars, it was experienced. Okay, Melly was younger, but you know, Strelnix was in, you know, the prime of his career. Thijs was younger, right? Thijs was young. So for younger players, it was tough. And you know, back then also we had such a cerebral. Sorry.
Yeah.
We had such a cerebral as well, but we had such a cerebral team that, you know, Trinchieri put like a lot of emphasis on, you know, making the right reads. And we played like really good basketball that year, and you know the teams under him played really good basketball. So for young players, especially for me, it was an adjustment period and difficult to learn and difficult to play. But you know he was also able to use my strengths, you know, like my creativity and my speed and shiftiness and shot making abilities. So it was a good year, man.
Nice, man. You obviously being a Berlin kid, fast forward, then you ended up in Berlin at some point. Did you try to sign with Berlin as soon as possible when you were in Germany, or wasn't this like one of your goals?
Okay, so after Bamberg, I went to Munich.
Yes.
And played in Munich for 2 years.
Yes.
And then we had a pretty tragic family situation.
Okay.
Where like my brother passed away.
Sorry, man.
And that was like the end of my the last year of my Munich contract. So at that time, it was really necessary for me to go to Berlin to be there with my family and to support my family. So that's when I moved to Berlin.
Okay.
And luckily, Berlin had a EuroLeague team.
Yeah.
And a good EuroLeague team.
Yeah.
Like, the team of Berlin, when I was there, we were, I would say, competitive. Yeah, it's not like rollover team. Like the last 2 seasons were difficult for Alba, but there were seasons there when we had like myself, Jalen Smith, Luke Sigma, Tamir Blatt, Johannes Thiemann. We had a good team.
Thiemann was super good.
We had a strong group of guys. Louis Solin, like we had a good team.
Yeah.
And that was the year when the Russia war broke out.
Yeah.
And we were knocking on the playoffs that year. Like people sometimes don't really have that in mind much.
I didn't have that in mind though.
Yeah. We had a good squad and we had a good run. Like so I was blessed to. Because regardless, I would have gone home to Berlin.
So even no EuroLeague?
There was no choice. Like I had to go to Berlin to be there with my family. So I was blessed that there was a EuroLeague team where me, myself as a player, I could also keep playing, keep building my rhythm, keep building my momentum and improve as a player, which I did. I made a huge step at Berlin when it comes to like performance and production. So I was lucky to have that safety net of having a EuroLeague club in Berlin and to be able to be there with family.
Damn.
But man, how are you able to handle things and even improve on the court when you and your family got to deal with such tragic stuff? Because I can only imagine it was very hard to keep your mind to basketball.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure, and that's also one thing which sometimes people on the outside are not aware of, but like athletes have their private situations going on always. Like you have your private life as well, where sometimes there's situations which are difficult, and you also have to direct a lot of attention towards that. So yeah, man, it's not always easy, but it's life. We're human beings. Everyone deals with their stuff. You guys deal with your situations, but also have your profession that you have to perform and you have to do well, and it's not different for basketball players.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I managed to do it, and I was kind of able to use this tragic situation with my brother and kind of like transform it into something positive and try to use it as fuel, try to use it as motivation, try to gather strength out of the situation. So
today you still play for him?
Yeah, man, for sure.
Nice.
It's
amazing.
And just the way many people deal with losses. You try to honor their life. You try to take them along on your journey in life.
Nice, bro.
That's the way.
Nice, man.
Often on the podcast, I like to touch on this mental health aspect, of sports. It's always such a taboo topic to discuss. Athletes, we're the best. Like we don't need to speak to someone, but we see now recently that players are more open to seek help for improvement. Just it's not about psychology, it's about something helping you get better and clear everything in your mind. What would you say to those people that they want to do it but they feel like it's taboo and they're not allowed?
I want to say at a certain level, like skill wise, there's it's sometimes difficult, like what separates players it's like from one level to the other or whatever. Sometimes it's you've reached your maximum capacity when it comes to building your skill, building your muscle, whatever, but you cannot like forget how strong the mind is.
Yeah.
And if you direct attention towards that and you train your mind, that can really unlock another level of performance for yourself. And I've seen it myself too. Like working together with sports therapists and mental coaches is amazing. Like I was able to make huge jumps in my career after working together with a.
It's like they unlock a new whole
I'm
world,
telling
right?
you, man. I'm telling you. Like your mind is sometimes the kind of like the muscle which is the least trained muscle, but you really have to you really have to direct attention towards it. And it not only in basketball, not only in sports, but you can apply it again to just normal life, like your outlook in life, your well-being, your being able to live in the moment. Like not many human beings are able to do that, you know what I mean? Like if you achieve that kind of, I think you set yourself up for a pretty good way of living, you know, and that's a lot of mental practice.
Nice, man.
That goes behind
respect
that.
for that, man.
Nice. You spent, I think, total of 7 years in Germany, if I'm not mistaken. 7 years, right? Then you made this move to Milan. What pushed you to make this move to Milan, knowing that you were like, I think we can arguably say one of the star players of Germany, you know, being very comfortable. What pushed you to take this kind of, not risk, but still different decision?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I spent my time in Berlin to be there with family and also to improve as a player. But, you know, once I've seen that, you know, the family situation kind of stabilized, I was also, you know, getting older every season, and I was like, okay, man, like, by the way, like, throughout my time in Berlin, I said no to a lot of opportunities elsewhere.
Nice.
And good opportunities.
NBA
like,
too?
Not NBA, two-way.
Okay.
Two-way.
Okay.
I had an offer from Golden State, two-way contract.
Okay.
But in Europe.
Okay.
Like high-level teams, man. Like teams where my agent was like, if you don't accept this, what else are you waiting for in Europe? There's nothing better coming in Europe. Like that's the best you can get.
Family first.
But I stayed in Berlin. And once the situation kind of stabilized, I said, okay, if I need to do it now because I'm not getting younger. So that's when Milan was. That's when I went to Milan. That's when I took the Milan offer.
Talking about these opportunities you're having, I would like to jump back a bit on the national team. You mentioned that, obviously we all know it's a big sacrifice to every year, you know, push your body, push your mind to play in the summer while you could be at break. But do you think, especially for someone playing in this German talented team that wins a lot, it's also an opportunity to play on this stage every summer and winning, to get offers? Because we saw Jay Lloyd having this crazy summer.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, in that way.
I thought you had the same thing. Like you were playing very good in the summer.
I had the Olympics 2020 where I played really well, but I had my contract already.
Yeah. Most of the contracts are done already.
It's about timing then, right?
And then the EuroBasket 2022 where it was a similar situation, but what was there? That's when I decided to stay in Berlin.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you're right. Now that you're mentioning it, and I was mentioning there were, like I said, a lot of opportunities, and I didn't take them. I didn't take them because I wasn't able to. I had to stay and take care of, you know, some things at home.
Coming back to Milano, I'm just curious. I just got one question on Milano. A lot of people say a lot of things about Coach Messina. What is it playing for him?
Okay, so first off, the organization is amazing.
Yeah.
Milan is amazing. Everything is taken care of, and it's a great facility. Travel is amazing. You know, you have chefs at the practice facility who cook for you.
They look pro.
It's like
we went there for the Mirotic podcast. Looks very serious.
From what I've been told, you know, from players who played everywhere so far in Europe, and also NBA players, they say it's the closest to an NBA program in Europe. And you know, a lot of that is due to Messina. You have to, I think, right? I would assume, you know, because he spent a lot of time with the Spurs, and I think he brought this culture to Milan and elevated the organization in that way a lot. But I mean, we just had a difficult year that year, We had a difficult season. I think a lot of chaos that season.
Yeah.
Started with you know, the Kevin Pango situation and
Exactly, that's the player.
Yeah.
you know, started like this, and you know, then there's like some, you know, just chaos and lack of stability in the team and uncertainty, and then a lot of injuries. Me personally, for example,
Bad recipe.
I was hurt a lot. That was my worst season in regards to injuries. Like I got there, my first game I played after the World Cup win, I had a muscle injury right away.
Damn.
Right away. And that was my first muscle injury of my career, by the way. So that happened for me personally, and then I had another muscle injury throughout the season, and then, you know, for some reason a lot of injuries, and not only myself but other players too, so that's always difficult for a team to deal with. And that was just a difficult season in that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I strongly believe if, for example, individually for myself, if I would have stayed healthy, I would have done well, like a lot better. And I played solid, but it's difficult to play when you have no rhythm and you keep, you know, recovering from injuries, and then, you know, getting thrown into EuroLeague games and then you injure yourself again. So it was just a difficult season in that regard.
I remember because I was betting on you with the fantasy.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would see like, injured. Like, fuck, man.
Yeah, injured. and then to get back from injury, you know, it's always tough. And then you find your rhythm again.
And you play and you hoop. Like, but you cannot be constant, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's got to be frustrating, man.
Yeah, it's part of being a basketball player. And I think it's also a result of all the national team summers, man.
Okay, yeah.
Because at that point I played the Olympics. What was it? Olympics, World Cup, and then the EuroLeague season non-stop. You know, and then at some point your body just retaliates.
Yeah, definitely. Man.
I mean, we saw even now that the season started, a bunch of players are dealing with like very bad injuries.
Hey, you hate to see it, man.
Our guy Jaite is like, you know, Achilles, like first.
Yeah, man. Isaiah Cannon just got hurt.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You hate to see it, man. It's.
Is it too much? Do you think like it's too much for the players? We tend to forget that you guys are humans and the body can only accept so much.
It's too much, man. Especially if you play national team.
Yeah.
If you play national team and you play in a team that extends its season into middle of June because you're in the finals, it's too much, man. Like, where's the break? When do you recover? When?
Yeah.
Like, from a EuroLeague season, ideally you have like 2 weeks where you don't do anything, 3 weeks. And ideally, like 3 weeks where you can practice and prepare for next season.
Yeah.
But to recover and prepare for next season in 2.5-3 weeks, how?
It's tough. And there's no basketball court in Saint-Tropez either, so it's
hey, they built a new one, man.
Really?
There's an outdoor one.
Really?
Oh, we gotta go hoop
there.
there.
There's one.
Okay, let's go.
It's they built this new complex.
Nice, man.
Yeah, man. So
nice.
It's outside though. You gotta wait for the sun to go down.
You gotta make a
Your
Insiders tournament.
For sure, man.
It's only one hoop though. It's only one.
That's enough. 1-on-1.
Yeah,
nice, man.
For sure.
You then made the move to Paris. I think we watched you guys a lot this year, a lot, because, you know, new team, like, we really don't know what's going to happen. And it seemed that everything clicked so perfectly. Guide us through the season from day one you arrived. Like, what happened? What was the energy about?
As a Monaco fan, I was frustrated with you guys a little bit. But, you know, it was a pleasure to watch, of course.
Walk you through the season. Okay, so for myself, whoa. I pull up to Paris, yeah. And Paris, there's a strong core of players who have played together for years
with
already.
Isalo and Bonn and all of them.
And in Bonn in Germany.
Yeah.
That was the team. They dominated with Bonn.
Yeah.
They won the Champions League. They moved the whole organization to Paris and bring all the players, everything.
It's crazy how many players
so they're in Paris and dominate the Euro Cup.
Yep.
So now they move to the EuroLeague. Same players stay, same system stays. Isalo goes to the league, but the system remains. Thiago Splitter comes and he's adapting and he's continuing the system. So I join, and at this point I'm 32. You know, I've seen a lot. I'm experienced basketball player. Had success in many different countries. Won a lot of titles. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I go there and I'm like, okay, so another summer where I have to adapt to a new team and I'll manage. But man, to adapt to the Paris style of basketball was the toughest transition I had in my career.
Really?
Man, easily. That right there, that system was the most unique system I ever played in. and the toughest to adjust, especially if you have experience already.
Yeah.
Because you're used to playing
So
basketball
different
a
from
certain
everything
way.
else.
It's so different from anything else. I remember in training camp, there's a drill called murder ball. Man,
It just scares me the way he talks
it's
about
called
it.
murder ball, yeah?
Murder ball.
In that drill, I never cramped up in my arms before. Like you had a cramp in your arms.
Yeah, no, I never had this in my life.
Me
No,
neither.
no.
But in that drill, it was the first time
This-
I was running so much that like I was starting to cramp up like in my biceps and stuff. I was like, what's
Worse
going
than
on?
college conditioning.
It was worse than everything, man.
But
That-
what, you were
that's bad
cramping
then.
from the movement?
From running too much.
No.
It's a really intense drill where you kind of simulate a lot of chaos and speed, and we do it so much that in the games
You
like,
thrive on it.
you thrive, and other teams obviously are not able to adjust to this. So we are adjusted to it because you practice it, but other teams not. So that's the advantage you create, and it's kind of like bringing organization and structure to the chaos, kind of.
That's interesting.
Damn,
But
man.
yeah, no, it was very unique. This group of guys, they know how to play with each other. They really perfected the system, this aggressive style of play, tagging up, which, by the way, everyone in Europe now is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is tagging up.
Yeah.
In the national team, we did the same.
You think they copied Paris basketball?
I think Lo put a lot of influences with his system, and a lot of teams are beginning to see what he did and are taking stuff from him, for sure.
Damn.
I strongly believe so.
But for that, you got to be hella conditioned.
You got to be conditioned. You got to have athleticism.
Yeah.
Just going to every offensive rebound, pressuring the ball, and on offense to, Paris had rules 3 seconds to the 3-point line,
Yeah.
and use the first advantage that's created. Be aggressive. You got to
Yeah.
use it. Like everyone uses, so
A lot of shots.
a lot of shots, a lot of rebounds, and just the aggression.
I saw a podcast of Yakuba Ouattara recently,
Uh-huh.
and he said the story that you guys were playing in Barcelona, and I think you were like 0 or 2 from some crazy number of 3, like super low percentage. You guys were just shooting. Half time, you guys go in the locker, Splitter, first sentence, he goes, guys, shoot more threes.
Shoot more threes.
Shoot more
Shoot more
threes.
threes.
This is crazy, man.
Yeah, no, it's really, and so at some point, like, we caught momentum,
Yeah.
and we beat teams, Panathinaikos at home, Barcelona at
Yeah.
their place, Olympiacos at their place, and you just build momentum, and it's fun, and you run, and you see how teams are like having trouble to kind of adjust to this style of play. At the same time, like TJ, he's such a good player, man, and especially also with the system which he knows so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was impossible to guard him, man, or to find answers, because the team as a cohesion, it was so well oiled, and even players like, let's say, Leon Kratzer,
Yeah.
who, if you look at the stat sheet or his his numbers or whatever, you think, okay, well, he hasn't done anything, but his role and the importance of players like him who create all of the seals and the open spaces for the guards to attack, and to the Gortat screens, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, the impact is not to be underestimated. Like,
Definitely, man.
He's a big German dude.
Yeah.
Man.
every player had their role and had their role to carry out in order for a lot of space to be created, and for the certain players who should be aggressive to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was a really interesting system. So yeah, Leon, he was part of that core. TJ, Colin Malcolm, Tyson Ward, Mike Antonin, so Sebastian Herrera.
Yeah.
So it was just like a lot of continuity and a really unique style of basketball.
Beautiful, man.
And when we talk about this feeling being in the zone, we often relate to just one game, but you guys start winning like 10 or 11 games in a row in the EuroLeague, which is close to the record. Were you guys feeling in the zone for like 2-3 months just to win everything?
Yeah, it was surreal, really. It was surreal to catch that type of rhythm for a club, an organization in your first year in EuroLeague. To achieve that,
It's got to be like a dream.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing. It was really an amazing season, amazing group of guys. That's really has to be highlighted. A really good group of players, good characters, good attitudes. That helped a lot.
Nice.
And yeah, man, we had a really fun season, man. And I think I think a lot of people took notice and saw that and kind of, added things to their philosophy. I think,
Nice,
the
man.
game is becoming more and more faster, more modern. Teams are, finishing possessions earlier on in the shot clock, tagging up.
True.
It's I think it's definitely the influence of Lo and Bonn/Paris basketball.
True.
So tell me how it feels, after this amazing season to cap it off with a Game 5 win against Monaco in the finals.
Yeah, no, it's tough, man. The French league is I think underestimated, man.
You think it's the best in Europe?
No, not the best in Europe.
For
The
athleticism,
Spanish
yes.
league is the best, man.
So French is second.
I don't know the Turkish league.
Okay.
I don't know the Turkish league well enough. But I do say I think the French is underestimated.
Okay.
I think the French is tough to play in because if you're a EuroLeague club and then you play the French league next to the EuroLeague,
They have athletes.
the athleticism
Man.
is not to be underestimated.
True.
It's a league where there's so much athleticism, so much speed, so many teams also playing similar to Paris, like so much intensity.
True.
And on pick and roll also, due to the athleticism, you see a lot of like shows and hedges.
Yeah.
Like there's so much
Yeah,
more
it's a
aggression.
hedge
There's
league for
no. There's
The bigs can move.
like in Spain. I kind of picture sometimes, like you play teams drop defense. Like you come off the pick and roll, you shot. You know what I mean?
Not in
None of
France.
that in France. No way, man.
True, man.
It's really intense. Really intense, and it's a difficult league. It's underestimated. You have 3 EuroLeague clubs. Yeah, it's not to be underestimated.
They switch a lot in France, right?
Switching and hedging.
Because we see you like to play one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you're getting a pick and roll, the big switchers on you? Do you see this like, all right, it's go time? It's like island.
Yeah, I mean it's an advantage, right? You have 2 advantages. You have the advantage inside, the big against the small, and then outside as well. Then you just read the shot clock. You see, do you have a lot of time on the shot clock? Then you move the ball and try to get the ball
It's often you who
inside.
takes the last shots, though. I saw that, even on the national team and everything.
Yeah. No, I think it's one of my strengths, to the shot making ability, creating shots off the dribble. It's always shots that I felt really comfortable shooting, really comfortable. Like sometimes I feel more comfortable shooting a step back 3 than shooting a free throw. Like,
I saw that.
Seriously,
We saw that.
Seriously.
Yeah, like it's a really comfortable shot for me. And then
saw that.
teams obviously know, and every time I have an ISO, everyone's yelling, "Hey, step back!" And so, I have to.
That's crazy.
I have to also mix in a few drives here and there, but it's something I just feel comfortable doing, man.
Nice, man.
You pointed out that it's super hard to guard TJ Shorts, because he plays such a unique way. But now you guys are going to be not teammates anymore. So when you play against TJ Shorts, are you going to tell coach, like, this is how we got to play? Like, do you know how to stop him?
I mean, you can try. Yeah, everyone tries to stop certain players, and trying to stop TJ, you can try, but he's extremely fast, man, and he's good with angles, change of direction. He's good in selling contact, which is a big skill. He plays around the mid-range, which is also like a space on the basketball court, which is teams don't focus on guarding that much. You know what I mean?
This is
Like
the most underrated shot, mid-range.
And it's something that teams give up often.
It's highest percentage.
Yeah. Teams give it up, like in certain defenses, coaches say, hey, we give up this contested mid-range shot or a floater, but this is the shot that TJ is just excellent in.
Yeah.
So he's just difficult to stop, even if you know what to do. He's just really good, man.
Yeah.
He's a good player, and he's a good dude too, man. Like a really good person, like high energy, kind-hearted, like a good person.
And talks a lot on the court too.
Yeah,
No, but the finals against Monaco,
He talks
you guys,
all the time, man.
TJ?
Yeah.
the whole team.
Yeah, but
My outside perspective, of course.
But Monaco was Monaco is a very physical team, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But you
and they
guys
talk
were
too.
talking a lot, though, and talking about selling, especially TJ Short. Like, it was so frustrating.
how about
this
you?
series.
You have to show contact, right? If there's contact, you
100%.
have to show it.
And that's how you won the first 2 games.
You can't get pushed around.
Yeah, that's how you won.
Facts.
Yeah. So
And he's too fast, so he can get pushed around all the time.
TJ is a good player, man. He's a good player, and man, I wish him best of luck in Panathinaikos, man.
Last question about Paris. What was missing to make this upset and win against Fenerbahce in the playoff series?
I mean, Fenerbahce is just they were strong, man.
And big.
good team, the right pieces, well coached. And I felt like they adapted to, they were able to play different type of styles. They could run with you. They could pick you apart in the set play. They could beat you on defense, just defending, switching, jump switching.
Yeah, they're crazy, man.
Man, and they just made the right shots, the right plays at the right time. Biberovic played well, and everyone's stepping up. It's a real team. Different players stepping up in different moments. Devon Hall, who I played with in Milan, good person, good dude. Playing a hell of a Final Four.
They just seem so strong though, like physical.
Yeah,
man.
On
the wing, especially.
Good team. They were just really strong. I was. That's when I had my one injury in last year. I had my muscle injury in my hamstring, so I was only able to play I rushed back to play the game 3 of the playoffs.
Yes.
But I wasn't healthy yet, and I was only able to play a few minutes because my leg wasn't ready. I mean, I wish I would have been healthy, and I don't know. I think I was one of the players who contributed a lot in Paris with playing aggressive and creating, and was one of the creators. So it would have been fun to play to have been healthy in that series, but Fenerbahce was, regardless of injury or not, Fenerbahce was just amazing, man.
Nice.
Man, we're approaching the end of the podcast, and we got to talk about this new challenge that you chose. Žalgiris Kaunas, unreal organization. Probably, one of the most engaged fan base in Europe. What are your expectations for this year?
Yeah, man, I want to experience this, exactly what you said, the basketball tradition, the basketball passion. I'm really curious to step into this world and to witness it. And yeah, man, to win the national title is a goal, and to compete for the EuroLeague playoffs, man. To gain a spot in the playoffs and to see what happens, man. I think that's the goal. And yeah, man, with such a strong fan base, and this team also has continuity.
Yes.
Players who know each other well. I think that's really important. So hopefully, build momentum, get better throughout the season, and win crucial games. And
should be a fun season, man.
I think this EuroLeague is really competitive.
It is, man. Wow. With the new teams, oh my God.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
We went to Hapoel in Bulgaria recently. They have a crazy super team, man. It's insane.
Yeah.
Insane this season.
They won today, right?
They won by 20 against Barcelona.
Almost 20. Yeah. Dubai as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be open this year.
Yeah. It's competitive.
But I think you guys have a lot of, especially offensive threats with yourself, Sylvan,
with this duo?
This would be crazy.
Yeah.
This would be crazy for sure.
Yeah, no, I think we have a good team, man. We have a good team, and especially the continuity, And then if the right pieces click, and then us new players, we find a way to contribute well, I think, anything can happen, man. And
I think you kind of had it last season with Paris, but now I think even more this role of vet player. You're 32. They have young, good players. How do you embrace this role nowadays?
Yeah. I mean, it's just experience, right? You grow older, you have a lot of experience throughout the EuroLeague seasons, a lot of games. So, I was never a player who's scared to take on responsibilities, man. No matter starting off the bench, whatever. I've had many different scenarios in my career, and regardless of what the scenario is, I really don't shy away from responsibility. I kind of like responsibility.
Yeah.
I like to make decisions and to help contribute with the skill set that you have to make a decision, to make a difference in a game, And I think I've kind of showcased that throughout my career on every stage, Olympics, EuroBasket, World Cup. I've always had moments in games where, if it's necessary, to step in and take over responsibility, and that's what I always am very eager to contribute.
With all the success that you have, and all this team, and all these travels you did, and everything that happened in your career, in your personal life, what is the one thing you would say to the young Maodo that is 17, 18 in Germany, and at this time nobody believes in him?
I would reassure him, man. I would tell him things are going to work out well, man. You're just keep believing, keep having fun. your path is you're on a good path. You know, the path that was laid out for you is a good one, and just embrace it, live in the moment. I think one thing which I could have benefited more is kind of the mentality to be more aggressive earlier on, like not to be scared to fail, man. Just be aggressive, make more mistakes, and yeah, man, just be more aggressive.
If one day you gotta leave this earth, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, what a deep question, man. I think I would like to be remembered as a person, as a human being who treated people fairly and who had compassion for every human being, every living existence, every living organism, like who has compassion for the world and for human beings and for this earth that we live on. I would think that probably.
Nice.
Beautiful answer.
Nice one.
Like compassion and treating people with dignity and fairness. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Man, it's been a huge pleasure. Thanks a lot,
Huge
Maodo Lo.
pleasure.
I
Maodo
wish
Lo,
you
guys. Thank you
nothing
so
but the
much.
best.
Thank you,
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was cool as hell, man.